welcome everybody back to the channel. Sorry it's been some time since anything's been put out. As you can see, believe a little bit here in the webcam, the CSL Elite wheelbase that I have here finally drove its last laps and had it for 5 years. I already have picked out what I would like next, but as we all know, sim racing hardware is not exactly cheap, especially now I'll be looking to enter the direct drive market, so it'll be a little bit of time to be able to do that. I've got some other stuff, house projects and things going on, so unfortunately can't just run out and buy that, even though I'd love to do that. So here I am doing something different. Decided to show my face and do the review video for the Children's of Alabama Grand Prix that happened this last weekend, and hopefully do it going forward. I like doing the B-roll with the driving as far as that stuff goes for the in-game stuff, but want to try this out too and see if I like this better, or maybe do a mix and match. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. So yeah, great race this weekend. Indy has now had 4 great races. They're 4 for 4, so really exciting about that. It's been a really great start to the 23 season, and you know, I said in the preview video I thought it was going to be really good, and so far all the drivers and the teams are making me sound like a really smart person. So excited to see how the rest of the season goes, as we're starting to creep already to the quarter point of it. But 4 different winners as well, and Barber is really a great track. You know, when it first came on the calendar, it was kind of curious how it was all going to work out, and it's had some really good races, some duds for sure, but any track could, you know, have that go on. But really great race this weekend. You can kind of see in the start column that the top 10 didn't really have a lot of fluctuation. People moved around within the top 10, but only Will Power and Marcus Armstrong came from outside the top 10 as far as starting spots to get into the top 10. And the 2 that were in the top 10 that got out were Joseph Newgarden and Rinus VeeKay there. Biggest mover of the race was Marcus Armstrong, started 26th, finished 11th. Will Power was 2nd, going from 11th to 3rd. So there was movement, not, like I said, a lot, and Barber really kind of lends that. The reason I say it's kind of interesting is because the big talking point of the race was whether teams were going to do 2 stops or 3 stops. I enjoy multi-strategy races. I think it's so much fun. We don't need them every race, but it definitely beats the race distances when it turns into just a 2-stop. Like, everyone knows, like, blacks the tire that it's going to be kind of deal, and it's just a 2-stop, save fuel, everyone's saving, and no one really tries anything. Like, to me, that's when those races you're like, please give me a caution, something to spice this up in some way, shape, or form. So I like when there's the ability for it to possibly go 2-3 stops. See who's going to do that. My biggest question once qualifying ended was kind of what role was going to start that 3-stop strategy. I figured everybody for sure in the top 4 or 5 probably would not do the 3-stop strategy. Scotty McLaughlin proved me wrong, because Team Penske as a whole did the 3-stop strategy. So they, as a team, felt that was a great way to go. And really, if you think about it, it's not terrible, because if you end up being the first team on the 3-stop strategy from where you're starting from, then you don't have to worry about anybody else dictating your pace once you come out into clean air. You know, so in that regard, I think maybe that was a smart move on their part. I think some of it too depended upon what tire you wanted to start on, and then what you were going to run that first stint in clean air was going to be. Because I believe Scotty Mac started on blacks, and then after his first stop he went to reds, so he did clean air and reds, and I'm sure you could make up quite a bit of time, because at that point you would be running as hard as you can. You're on reds, and everybody that was on the 2-stop was on mostly blacks, but either way, whatever tire they're on, they had to save fuel, so pace wise they were going to be slower, so you're probably making good headway as far as that goes. And so yeah, that was kind of where the fun began, and really it got even more interesting with the Stingray Rob caution that happened a few laps after the first round of stops for the 2-stoppers. It kind of helped the 3-stoppers out a bit. I don't want to say that it completely gave the race to the 3-stoppers, but it certainly gave them a bit of a break as far as not having to eat into all that time. Certainly early in the stint as well too. So that really helped them out. And but really what I found to be the excellent talking point from Barber was the amount of close, hard, clean racing. So the amount of the one that got kind of interesting was the Graham Rahal and the Connor Daly down in turn 5, and that really wasn't intentional. It was more Graham kind of got on power, lost the rear end, and went to save it, and just Connor was there and kind of pushed him off track. But other than that, there was no real contact. At the start, Felix Rosenqvist spun. He was trying to stay off of Newgarden. He just went in a little bit deep into 2 there and got him. Seemed like the talking point from the NBC crew was that there was maybe some suspension damage to Newgarden's car. Not really sure if, as the race went on, you're going over the curbs, that got a little worse because his pace definitely dropped off while the other 2 Penske cars actually, with their strategy ended up being a lot quicker than everybody else around them. So it kind of interesting with him is, I don't know if it was a similar thing to Long Beach where they just lost the tires and that was the end of that. Yeah, the amount of passing was way more than I thought there was going to be. Barber, you never really know what you're going to get. They said they went back to the 2021 tire as far as the Reds were concerned, and so everybody was figuring that the drop-off was going to be pretty high, or that was what a lot of the drivers were saying post-qualifying, was that the drop-off was going to be pretty high, so it was going to be really hard to do a full stint saving fuel with Reds. But teams were able to do it, drivers were able to do it, and the racing was fantastic. Christian Lundgaard's pass on Scott Dixon was a thing of magic. He completely surprised Dixon, or at least that's what it looked like. He completely surprised Dixon, and he got that done just beautifully. That was fantastic. Grosjean and McLaughlin, in a repeat of St. Pete, they had great racing together. I think, obviously once they were racing each other, everyone wanted to start talking about, are they going to be able to stay off each other? They don't race like that, either one of them. Well, more so Scotty, but I don't think that's really how they race, and certainly each other. I do think they were going to give themselves a little bit of more room for caution, error in racing together, because they definitely didn't want to have it coming together. He was going for the win again, all that stuff. So I know Grosjean wanted that win so desperately, but with the pace that he's got this season so far, it's just a matter of time. I get it's frustrating when you keep finishing second, but he's got to look on the brighter side. It's 2 seconds in a row. He's been fast all year. He's heading to the Indy GP, where he's been really quick before. So I think he knows it's around the corner. I get it's got to be extremely frustrating, though, when you are getting close and it keeps getting taken away from you, kind of deal. So, just again, like, the drivers were fantastic. It was a great race. It really showcased the talent in this series. You look at, and I've talked about it, I believe, before with qualifying, in the fact that getting in the top 12 is even very difficult, let alone the top 6, just because you look at 3 Penskes, 3 Ganassis for sure, and apparently Marcus Armstrong is really showing his strengths on the road courses, considering he's coming to a lot of them for the first time. Barber was the first track that he had been to before. Fortunately, he had that qualifying penalty, which you could argue whether he should have got or not got. I think he deserved it, but I could maybe see an argument for not getting it. But anyway, so if he continues to show pace, that's 4 Ganassi cars. So that's 7 right there. Then you got 3 Aero cars, that's 10, and then you've got the Andretti cars. So making the top 12 even in qualifying is really, really difficult. So that's where this season's going to get really interesting, and that's why I think wins and consistency, making sure you're in the top 5, top 6 is going to be really important for your championship run. Will Power, like I said, had a really great run. He looked like he was the Will Power last season. He's been pretty good all year, quietly, but this was the first race where he really showed kind of that pace. So it'll be really interesting if he enters the conversation as well too. So I mean, 4 races into this season has been unbelievable. Really, really great stuff. I'm beyond happy with how everything has gone. we've got two Honda wins and two Chevy wins, so it's pretty even in that regard as we head into the month of May here. And yeah, Barber, beautiful facility. I know lots of people that have been to the track and have said it's awesome. Like, the time down there is great, the food, the people, everything's great. So I definitely want to make a trip down there and check it out one of these years and see for myself everything. It looks great from TV, that's for sure. So I don't disagree with NBC's numerous times of saying it's the Augusta of racing. Yeah, I mean, real quick, we'll take a look at points. Can we get that? Let's just go to the home page. It's on there. So we'll do points real quick. So top 5 are only covered by 15 points, which is unbelievable. And if you really look at it, only McLaughlin and Ericsson have wins. So Pato, Palou, and Grosjean are that close, and they don't have a win yet this season. Speaks to the seasons that they're putting together as well too. Newgarden, he's 25 back, which isn't anything to really worry about yet at this point of the season, I don't think. And yes, I've got a Newgarden shirt on, and I did predict him preseason to win the championship. I stand by that, but he has had kind of an interesting season because he had some speed at St. Pete and then had the DNF. I won't say he was really quick. He messed up qualifying. And then obviously Texas, I mean, I would, like, outside of Indy right now, if it's an oval, you can pretty much chalk him up almost for a win, basically. Or certainly being in the mix for the win. And then Long Beach, he had pretty good pace. I mean, he had really good pace. And for whatever, their strategy just didn't work out. They tried, it didn't pan out for them, and so that was a bad finish for him. And then Barber, he really wasn't there at all. I mean, he said, well, he got just barely clipped by McLaughlin in the fast to get into the Fast Six, and he said he messed that up. But race day wasn't really that great. I mean, not normal Joseph stuff. Certainly wasn't the best Penske car. But he's one of those guys where he can just reel off a ton. And I get there are others that can do that too. He seems to find the gear when he needs it. I know he's really mad. He doesn't want to get, let this championship get too far out of the way, especially because he's usually pretty good at Barber. I mean, the recent years it's kind of waned a little bit, but he's still, I mean, he's a threat everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back at the GP. Obviously, heading into Indy, the 500 itself, Team Penske needs to recover. It looked like at the open test that they had found some stuff and we're going to be better, but we'll see what comes in the coming weeks. Is that so? Yeah, Barber, great race, really great race. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There's definitely some teams that really need to figure some stuff out, mainly at Carpenter Racing and Ray Allard and Lanigan. Outside of Christian Lundgaard, props to Christian Lundgaard. That was a fantastic race. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully the other two cars can figure it out, because that was what we kind of expected from RLL and mainly from Christian Lundgaard, and he drove a great race. So fantastic, hats off to him. He probably was my driver of the day, I'd say, just because of where that team is and what he did with that car. So that was really good on his part. But otherwise, RL needs to figure it out. Yeah, so those teams really gotta get going here. It's gonna create some issues, as far as, well, I should say, not create issues, but they'll probably play a role in the silly season coming up in the next month to 2 months, when that stuff really starts hitting the airwaves. So yeah, Barber's done and dusted. We are 4 races into the 23 IndyCar season. Let me know what you're thinking of this season. Let me know what you're thinking of this review video with the webcam. This is weird. I gotta say, this is odd. I'm staring. I've been bad probably during this and not realizing it, but I'm staring at the screen, but I'm trying to look at the camera and be good about that. So this is all brand new to me, and keep working on it and try and get better at it. But hopefully it gives you an idea of who I am and do a little bit more interaction with all of you. So looking forward to that as well. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you like the content. Appreciate everyone. Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.